Hey, I got something else we can force the football real quick.
Please, please.
So it's Bill Conley. You know who he is. He does the S. He's one of the metric guys in
Mm,
college football.
yeah.
He works for ESPN. So he did a 2022 Florida State stat profile looking ahead to 2023. And he had a couple of tweets on Monday. One of them was 2022 Florida State stat profile. Offense only finished 33rd in SP plus because of early season mediocrity. It ignited after the October bye week. Defense actually improved by more and returns a ton. Killer pass rush. FSU always won the big play battle. And then the next one. Opponents really didn't want to pass on FSU. Verse is back at D end, and the secondary might be even better. Best FSU offensive line in years, but it's still room for growth. Travis being crazy escapable helps a ton. I'm very close to being Schleybaugh level high on this team.
Mm.
Schleybaugh is the person in ESPN that had Florida State ranked number 3 in the post spring power rankings. So Bill Conley says he's very close to being that high on them, and then he goes into depth on his little stat charts. Um, he says he loves the variations on offense, how many different formations they have. They do a little bit of everything, and they're pretty good at everything they do a little bit of. And he says the offense grabbed headlines, but defensive improvement might turn out to be more important. So, and this is a guy that this is one of those dudes that one
So
of the
tell us,
football nerds.
tell us you're a subscriber to Wake Up Warchant without telling us you're a subscriber to Wake Up Warchant is what you're saying.
Absolutely. Come on, Bill Conley. Come on, man. We know the deal. We know don't act like you just dove into your numbers.
Mm,
Yeah, he's just a football nerd. But again, I think this it's late. We got to find something to talk about.
mm,
But I think more and more people are going to come around. They're going to look at these profiles, the resume, the fact, okay, Florida State's returning how much offensive production from last year?
yeah.
Returning how much defensive production from last year? They went 10 and they got all these transfers. That hype is going to be at a point where when they play LSU, there's going to be a whole bunch of eyeballs watching Big Ten.
Mm.
But also there's going to be real expectations, and they are going to be the the popular pick that's a non-SEC, non-Big Ten power to maybe up in the apple cart and get in the college football playoff because it's going to only build. I'm telling you, I don't know if magazines even come out anymore, but when you're opening up your Street and Smith's magazine, everyone, or your Athlon, Florida State will be on the cover. It's going to be a lot of Florida State talk. This team is going to be a very popular pick to be a top 5 team. I do think they're going to start the preseason in the top 5. I think they might be 5th, but I think they're going to start the preseason in the top 5. Which, man, what a world we're living in.
Mm.
Hopefully, the hype lasts all season. But even if it just lasts for August in September, man, it's cool to have these kind of expectations.
Yeah, man. Well, it's really real. I mean, that's the thing that right? Like,
Yes.
I think we're pretty. Man, we're pretty objective for a show that's got guys that have long-standing ties to university. So uh, we're not we're not squinting our eyes and trying to find reasons of hope and like this is they've really done things on the football field to the point of Bill Connelly's tweets and his data sort of mining here after that bye week that you're like, man, this is sustainable stuff, and they're bringing all these guys back, and they've added pieces around them in the transfer portal, and there's no reason to think that was some sort of blip and that they can't duplicate it. My contention, Corey, is, and again, we don't have to go too long on all this sort of stuff. I'm glad that, again, Schleybaugh is a guy that is obviously well dialed in, well heeled into the college football world. Bill Connelly, obviously, with all of his data analytics. My contention has always been that I think, like, nationally, I don't think people were ever down on Florida State because they felt burnt. Like, they thought Jimbo was going to keep it rolling, didn't work out. They thought Willie was going to be great, didn't work out. And just like Mike Norvell has come from humble beginnings in terms of like the coaching world. Like he was at Pitt for a year, right? He was at Arizona State as an OC, went to Memphis. He coached under Todd Graham. All the guys that coach with under Norvell, all of his coordinators. Adam Fuller doesn't have a sexy profile. We all love Alex Atkins, but Alex Atkins was at a not even an AA school, whatever Charlotte's, or maybe Charlotte is in the AAC. Like none of these guys had huge resumes. Lincoln Riley is sexy because he was at Oklahoma and he had Heisman contenders and stuff.
Yeah.
Like people talk about, people were buying into Ole Miss last year because of like Lane and Lane's sort of profile and his reputation. Like this year, man, this is like all the light is shining on this staff and this program now. there's no excuses for why they can't become what Florida State has always been for so long. And I think this is going to really go a long way into propelling, the sustainability of Norvell and what he's created here, and then also, give more cachet to guys like Alex Atkins and Adam Fuller and maybe some of these other assistants that will start getting tweeted by, like, Bruce Feldman, like, hey, really impressive win there by Florida State and what they've done there in the secondary. Patrick Surtan's a guy that a lot of coaches, those tweets that you always see from Bruce Feldman in the middle of October and stuff. I just think that stuff's going to start rolling Florida State's way, and it hadn't been there previously.
Well, and you also don't realize how much, when you're a Florida State fan and you've grown up with the program, and you lived through the dynasty and literally being the winningest program in the country for 4 decades, you don't really appreciate preseason expectations because it just comes with the territory. You're used to them. It's no big deal. But when they go away for 5 years, and all of a sudden people are making fun of your program, it's become a joke. It's become a punchline. And trust me, folks, the end of Willie, the beginning of Norvell, it was a punchline. Jacksonville State was a punt. I mean, that's as low as it can get. And I'm talking about the game itself, the fact that you had a player proposing on the field after the game, the fact that Twitter mocked that. All of that felt like, man, what has happened to this program? What has happened? And then what are we, Aslan? We're less than 2 years later?
Yeah.
You have a preseason top 5 team, and people are talking about your team as a potential outside chance at a national championship, maybe an inside shot at a playoff. Like, that's how far you've come. Enjoy this. Like, don't be worried about it.
Yes.
Don't be worried about losing a game here or there and, oh, we didn't live up to the expectations. Appreciate that you have expectations again, man. Your own, but outside people are looking at Florida State again, finally, and being like, yeah, man, they're good. They could be really good. Because you don't realize how much you miss something sometimes until it's gone, and you're finally not going into a year hoping for a winning season or a bowl, or maybe if everything goes right you can get to 8 or 9 wins. No, man, you're going into a season where Florida State should always be going into a season with championship expectations, and that's really cool that that's happened. Because I'll be honest with you, that night interviewing Norvell over Zoom after his team gave up a last-second 50-yard bomb to a bad FCS team, I didn't think we'd be here for a long, long time. Yeah. And here we are less than 2 years later. So I'm enjoying it, Aslan.